I'm going to go ahead and say it. I like the Andor series so far. The first 3 episodes were released, and we got a look at Cassian Andor's background, as well as some insight into who he is. But it's different. I'll admit that. Different than any other Star Wars project we've been introduced to so far. Different isn't always a bad thing, though. It was time for something a little different. Calm down, not too different, and not too far off the beaten path. I hear a lot of criticisms of the show, and I get it, but let me explain why Andor is so much different than any of the other Star Wars series. When you look at shows like The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and even the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, to a point, something sticks out. Andor seems slow, as far as action, that is. At least for the first 2 episodes. The 3rd episode shows slightly more action, but there are still slow moments. That is, when you compare it to, say, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is seen as the crown jewel of what Star Wars fans like from the Disney era. Maybe one thing that most Star Wars fans do agree on from this era. It's fast-paced, has plenty of action, and why would I ever leave out Din Djarin's adopted son, Grogu, or Baby Yoda, if you prefer. Season 3 of The Mandalorian seems like it'll be even better. Why? More Mandalorians, more Mandalorian lore. That's why. Oh yeah, and Grogu. If The Mandalorian can do this and bring together the Star Wars fandom, then what happened to Andor? Why are so many fans upset about the pacing? I've heard it called a slow burn by many. That doesn't sound good. Since the trailers for the Andor series started dropping, I've been saying this. This series is going to be different, more adult, more character-based, and more storytelling than before. And let's not forget the first use of an actual cuss word in any Star Wars project to date, by way of the verbal representation of excrement. Yeah, they said shit. And so did I. There's part of that adult factor I've been talking about. So far, I've been right. It isn't relying on fast-paced action like John Wick or Faster-isterist and Furious-terist 19. That has a lot of people bugged, though. Well, at least not yet it isn't representing that. We're only 3 episodes in out of 12. Yeah, there are going to be 12 episodes for this season of Andor. That's 4 more than The Mandalorian, 5 more than The Book of Boba Fett, and 6 more episodes than the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. With that many episodes, the writers have a chance to slow down and tell a story that is deeper than what we're used to. Well, let's put it this way. If each episode is 30 plus minutes, it'll produce over 6 hours of Star Wars content. That's almost as much as an entire trilogy of Star Wars movies. And there are definitely slow parts to each trilogy and each movie. But is that enough to satiate Star Wars fans? The world knows how picky we are. So why was the decision made to make more episodes and slow the pace? Because it's a different kind of storytelling. Yeah, I think I've said that a couple of times, but it's true. Let's look at it like this. Have you ever read a Star Wars comic? Full of action, short. There's no lack of blaster shooting and lightsaber limb cutting. Not to mention Boba Fett lights Chewbacca on fire. That's disturbing. But that's the way a comic's designed. It only has a short time to tell a story and doesn't have the time to really go deep into the emotions and thoughts of the characters. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars comics are some of the best written that I've seen, but they don't spend a lot of time world building or in character development. It has to keep moving. Now, have you ever read a Star Wars novel? They're just a bit longer than the Star Wars comics. Just a bit. Yeah, hundreds of pages longer or whatever. Star Wars novels aren't for the impatient, and we all know how our attention spans have decreased as a society. But they tell a complete story. They spend more time in the thoughts and emotions of the characters. By the way, I highly recommend all the Thrawn novels by Timothy Zahn. I met him last year. What a great guy. He gave me an inside scoop to the character and the character's future, but I'm not allowed to say anything until we see Thrawn in live action. I promised him I wouldn't. And no, none of what he told me is included in any of my Thrawn theories. And I'm not making that up. I have a witness, actually 2 witnesses. It was by a chance encounter, but I got to talk to him for about 45 minutes. Okay, I got sidetracked. Back to the reason Andor seems slow. I'll save the Timothy Zahn stuff for a Thrawn video later on. From A New Hope on, we see action from the beginning. A New Hope's Tantive 4 capture. The Empire Strikes Back, Wampa, and probe droid encounters. Not to mention the AT-ATs, or AT-ATs, as some call them. Return of the Jedi's Jabba the Hutt sequence, all the way down to Revenge of the Sith's amazing opening of the Battle of Coruscant. I'm not the biggest prequel fan, but that shot has to be my favorite of any opening scene in Star Wars. That scene alone vindicated Attack of the Clones for me. But the point is that we're used to opening action in Star Wars films and media. Even in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett allowed that rhythm. Obi-Wan Kenobi followed suit with Order 66 in the opening scene. But now we have Andor. Sure, it opens with Andor being shook down by crooked cops, but moments later it's over, and short moments, leaving us wanting more. But it doesn't come for the first 2 episodes. Back to what I was saying about comics and novels. The other 3 live-action series were made like comics, a short space to get everything in, and the one thing that had to give was long close-up shots of the characters. Long shots give a feeling of what the character is feeling or thinking. Said feeling a lot there. Oh well. In the short form of the other shows, we're told what the character's thoughts and emotions are. Then, action! It had to be fast-paced, like a comic book. Get through the short arcs with as much impact as they could. Now there's Andor. 12 episodes of Star Wars, roughly 6 hours of more Star Wars. There's time to breathe. There's enough space for those long shots to feel Cassian Andor's, Marva's, Cyril Karn's thoughts and emotions. There's space to allow us to use our imaginations, where we are shown and not told. We aren't told what we have to believe, but rather allowed to make our own stories as to what is going on in their minds, like a novel. Yes, I said the films all followed a certain format, but that format starts with comic book style action, but then moves to novel style emotion and storytelling, world building, character insight, thoughts and feelings, then action again. Andor's breaking the mold of the movies and all the series that came before. If we look at it as in we're viewing the words of a novel play out, we come to understand that the best parts are to come. Get to know the characters, feel their struggles and achievements, and cheer for their victories, and grieve their defeats. Tell me this, in the finale of The Mandalorian Season 2, did you tear up because Din Djarin was letting Grogu go, or was it actually because Luke Skywalker was there? Grogu grew on us from the moment he was introduced in The Mandalorian Season 1. But it's because he's cute. It's because he does cute things. But Luke Skywalker showing up for 30 seconds trumped all of what Grogu and Din Djarin built in the show. Why? Because the show is based off short moments, quick action, and instant gratification. And don't take what I'm saying as an insult. I adore the show and can't wait for Season 3. I'm just showing the differences in Andor and The Mandalorian. Andor's going to lose something. That is, Cassian Andor will lose something. And it's going to hurt us when he does, probably on an atomic level. And it won't be because a fan favorite character showed up to take that away. It'll be because we will hurt for Cassian Andor, just like in a novel. So try to watch the entire series before judging the show. Keep an open mind that this style of writing is trying to invest us emotionally rather than just visually. Yes, right now it feels like the show could be any setting and isn't necessarily in the Star Wars universe, but the tie-ins will come soon. Then you'll see there's much more to the Star Wars universe than the Jedi versus the Sith. Ugh, I had a hard time getting that out. Anyways, other than the Jedi versus the Sith action scenes. That's about all I have for today. If I think of anything else, I'll just make another video. And if you like this video, check out my others. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. This is Gerald from Star Wars Fanatic signing off, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. Thank you for watching. And remember, this is the way, the only way.